Hey, math friends. So our learning target today is that I can create and use stem and leaf plots to analyze data. So what we're really talking about here is another way to display our data and then analyze it. So stem and leaf plots probably are a brand new concept for you. You probably never have heard of that before. So that will be a new topic. This page is going to explain it. So there won't be any really math going on this page in terms of like new solving or in your note taking process. So just know that this is just more of an FYI. This is what it is. So a stem and leaf plot. In order to create a stem and leaf plot, you have to order the data from least to greatest. So if we're talking about the DVDs rented over the course of a week, now of course we don't really rent DVDs anymore. We would want to take those rentals and organize them in order from least to greatest. So that's step one. Not hard math there, just put them in order from least to greatest. The next thing you do is you choose your stems and your leaves. So it's not really a choice, it's just mathematical that the tens digit represents the stems. So here's your tens digit. And then it says that the ones digit represents your leaves. There's your ones digit. So if we look at the data, we were really talking about that the first data point here would be 19. So that represents 19. You write the stems on the left and you write the leaves on the right of the vertical line. So that's a stem and leaf plot. You write the leaves horizontally and you basically have this situation here. You are going to also have to have a key because you want to tell your readers, what does that mean? Does it mean 25? Does it mean 2.5? Does it mean $2.50? There's always different scenarios for that. So in this case, it means 25 DVDs. So you need a title, you need a key, you need your stems, you need your leaves. So some things to point out in this particular stem and leaf plot. Number one, you'll notice that we do not have a data point in the 40 range. So if we look up here, no data point in the 40 range. So we just simply leave that blank. Some kids like to write a 0 there when they're first learning how to do that, but don't do that. Do not put a 0 here because that really means the data point of 40 DVDs, and that's not true. So I'm going to hit undo. That should just be blank. If you don't have any datas in the 40, it should just be blank. Other things to point out. If we look up here in our graph, we see that we have a data point at 50 and 50. We have two of them. So therefore, in my stem and leaf plot, that should be modeled down there as well. So that's a stem and leaf plot. So what can you do with that? Well, you can calculate the data analysis. So the terms that you've heard before, mean, median, mode, and range. We're going to calculate those today as we create. So the mean is the average. What we do for that is we add the data and then we divide by the number of data items, which you've done before. The median is the middle. We will organize from least to greatest, and then we will find the middle value. We'll talk about what do you do when you're stuck between two and there isn't a middle value. What do you do? The mode is the most common. It happens the most often. We just saw in the previous display when we're talking about DVDs, we could see that the mode in that case was 50. It occurred 2 times. It was represented with a 5 and then that bar. So 5 jump the fence, 0, 50 and then 50. But we only write the 5 one time, the stem one time. And the range is simply the biggest minus the smallest. What is the range of the data? So those are the 4 things that we're going to need to do on the next screen. We're going to create the stem and leaf plot, and we are going to calculate mean, median, mode, and range. Cool. So if we take a look at this picture here, we're talking about the hair length of students in class in centimeters. Now, centimeters really is the width of my pinky. That's what we're talking about for hair length. So the thing I think is the easiest to always start with is to take a look at your range, because your range helps you identify what your stems and leaves would be. So if I took a look at my range, I think 1 is the smallest. And scanning, it appears that 47 is the biggest. So my range then would be a range of 46 centimeters. Now I'm going to take a peek back at that to make sure I didn't make an error. And that appears to be true. That 47 minus 1 would be my range. That will help me drive the decision on what are my stems, what are my leaves. So now as we start to solve that, we want to say, well, here we have a nice title that we can just drag down there. So we have hair length. What is the hair length? Measured in centimeters. Okay, so as we take a look at the stems then, what are the stems? What are the leaves? We've identified that the range goes from 1 centimeter to 47 centimeters. So let's check this out. So we are going to represent the numbers 1 through 9, the numbers 10 through 19, and so on. So we easily then can figure out that those will be our stems. So let's go through and highlight what we have in order from least to greatest. So we have 1, 1, 1. Those are my smallest. And then I have 2, 2, 4, 5, 5, 7. Those are all the numbers from 0 to 9 that would go in that first row, representing centimeters. So I have to put them in order. So we had 1, 1, and 1, 2, 2, 4, 5, 5, and 7. Now I'm going to count those quick to make sure I have it. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9. Good, I have them all representing the first row, 0 through 9 inches. We're going to do the same thing in the next section. So in the next section, I'm going to represent hair length. Awesome. So that's the hair length of 12. Any others in that section? No. Moving on to the next section, 20 through 29. So we have a 20, 27, 23. Do we have any others in the 20? Nope. So I'm going to put those in order from least to greatest then would be 20, 23, and 27. Now we're going to do the same thing for the 30s. So you're using the highlighter then, the 30s. So we have 30, 32, 33, and 38. Okay. So we have 30. Whoops, still have the highlighter there. So we have 30, there we go, 32, 33, and 38. We're just jumping the fence there. Finally, I think I'm out of highlighter colors. So we have 40, 44, and 47. 40, 44, and 47. So there's my data points. I'm going to count those quick to make sure I have them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Awesome. You're like, wow, she can count. That's amazing. She teaches math. But I have it. Boom. So now when I calculate my mean, the good part about counting those up is that I know that my denominator is going to be 20 out of 20 students. So to calculate the mean, we're going to add all of these up. Keep in mind this is 40 and that's 44 and 47 as you add them up. So I'm going to pause the video quick so I can add those up. Okay, crew, when I added all these up, I got 374 for the what we call the sum, divided by the 20 students, looking for the mean hair length. So I'm going to take that number, I'm going to divide by 20 students, and I end up getting that the mean hair length is 18.7 centimeters. Cool. Next one I'm going to do is the mode, only because it's the easiest one to read off the graph. I didn't mean to cross that off. So the mode. The mode is the number that occurs the most often. It appears that the number 1 occurs the most often. It occurs 3 times. So the mode then would be 1. So the only thing that's left for us is to calculate the median, the middle number. And we're going to do that by going least, greatest, until we get to the middle number. So I'm going to start crossing them off. Least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, boom, boom, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest. Ah, I'm stuck between a hair length of 12 centimeters and a hair length of 20 centimeters. What is the middle value between those two? So if you're stuck on that and you can't mental math that, the trick of figuring that out would be to simply add those and then divide by 2. So that would give you 16 centimeters. So we add the 2 you're stuck on, divide by 2. So we would find out that the median is 16 centimeters. So that's our first stem and leaf plot. And that's how we calculate mean, median, mode, and range. Awesome. So let's take a look at some questions that we analyze here on stem and leaf plots. So if we look at the right here at the stem and leaf plot, it says how many students scored less than 80 points. So we're really talking about the data points of 66, 70, 75, 77, and 78. Those students all scored less than 80 points. So I would say 5 students scored less than 80 points. We're talking test scores. Pause that video if you're confused. You need to count them up. Moving on to the next question, I erased it so we can start over. What about how many students scored at least 90 points? So that means greater than or equal to 90 points. So now we're going to include the 90. So as I do that, then I'd say 90, 92, 99, and 100. How many students are in that category? 4 students. Next question is asking about the key. What would this represent on the graph? What are we talking about? Are we talking about people, percentage? What are we talking about? And it says right there that that means 70, a test score of 70. That's what that means for the key. And finally, a little bit of analysis of what we learned today about stem and leaf plots is using the grading scale, how many kids received a B. So if we look through the B category, we're talking in the 80s. So if I go ahead and count those out, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We would say that 9 students, 9 kids received a B on their test. Awesome. I'm going to skip that analysis for now. Let's take a look at this question here. If we take a look at this stem and leaf plot, how many data values are in the set? So we're going to go ahead and count those out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11. I don't know why I stopped at 10. 11. We have 11 data points in the set. Now you'll notice that we don't have a key here. Or we do have a key, but we don't know what that means. Like 36 what? 36. So this is not a great example because there's some errors there. I don't know if I did that on purpose. We'll pretend I did that on purpose. The least value when we jump the fence is 4, is the least. The greatest value when we jump the fence is 42. Now some other questions. What is the median? What is the range? Things like that. Well, the range is super easy to figure out now that I've identified the biggest and the smallest. So I'm going to do that first. 42 minus 40 would give me that the range is 38. So I have the range. Cool. The median, though, let's go get that median. So as we work, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest, least, greatest. Getting myself confused here. Least, greatest gives me that the median then would be 24. The median is 24. How I did that is I worked from least to greatest. The smallest up to the biggest. That doesn't work out right, does it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, it does. Woo! I was freaking out there. Getting tired, guys. All right, so now is 32 in the data set? So let's check it out. Let's go 32. 30, no, I don't see a 32. Not in the data set. So that's how we would analyze the stem and leaf plot as well. Taking a look at what's left, there's a lot left, and I'm not going to go through all of that. For our test scores here, we would want to put them in the stem and leaf plot. I'm going to skip that question. Let's find the error in this question, and I think we'll be good to go. Describe and correct the error in making the stem and leaf plot. So let's say what we have here. So it looks like we have a 25 and a 56. Let's see if we see that. 25. Oops, I meant to say 25 and 26, not 56. 25 and 26. That looks good. Okay, cool. Let's see, 42, 44, 47. That looks good. Good. And then we see 50, 51, 55. Oh, I see the error. So we have this data point right here that does not show up over here. So let's check out this bottom row. 50, 51, 55, But what about this 50? That was the error. So we have two 50s. So the error is that we should have, we have two 50s, not 55s. So that is the mistake that was made in that problem. So our summary for today's work is that if you have a data set for stem and leaf plots, this is your tens digit over here. These are your ones digit over here. You leave space in between. You put them in order from least to greatest. If you have duplicate numbers, you represent that. So 0, 0 could both represent 20, 20, 20. You could have lots of them, right? If you get to a point where you don't have any set data points, like in your 40s, like this one we see, you just leave the leaves blank. Do not put a 0 there or you get confused. Make sure that you leave yourself a key. Make sure you have a title. That is our work for today on stem and leaf plots and analyzing the data. Have a glorious night. Oh, one more thing. If it is decimals, you just put the decimal here, and when you make your key, you just model it that way. So for example, if I'm going to put 4.0 on there, let's just throw it on there just for the sake. Make sure that you say that this means 4.0 when we jump that fence, right? When we jump that fence. Awesome. All right. That's our learning target for today. Have a glorious night.